Hello and welcome to our first impressions video brought to you by MMO Play. Here taking a look at the game. It's taken a little while to come out, but it's finally here. It is Darkfall Unholy Wars. This is a $40 game with a $15 a month subscription, so it's not a free-to-play or buy-to-play like Guild Wars 2 even. And it is a game that's gone through some delays. It was originally due out in November and just recently came out. Been trying it over the weekend to get kind of some sort of grasp on it. For anyone not familiar with the original Darkfall, this is... closest thing I can come up with is maybe comparing it to Ultima Online. It is a sandbox-style MMO, and it is a heavy focus on just kind of doing what you want to do. You can gather resources, craft. Your progression system is not the traditional leveling style system. In fact, you gain skills and you increase skills by getting basically achievements in-game, which we'll look at in-game itself. There are a handful of races. They don't seem to have much in the way of influence on your character at all. Like, it's not like a starting stat for playing these Dark Elves versus somebody else. And the character progression, or the character customization, pretty decent. I'd maybe say the graphics in this game, at least for character models, are, you might call them, they look a little bit dated, possibly, but the focus of Darkfall has been the more sandbox, old-school style gaming. So we're looking at, like, Felucia UO here. We're not looking at World of Warcraft. This game is not meant to be a Warcraft-style game. In fact, it's probably a pretty niche title, something that most people probably aren't going to be a fan of, just because there is PvP and there's full looting. So you die, you'll lose stuff, and if you engage in PvP, you'll probably get killed. And also, it is an action game, which we'll look at, kind of more of a shooter style rather than the target. Which, if you're a fan of first-person perspective, you'll probably like this game. If you're not, you might not. I've noticed that I'm not the only person that seems to struggle with the first-person view, so that's why I tend to play more fantasy-style games instead of shooters, and that is a consideration here. Also, you'll notice I'm picking two different schools, and you pick a class, too. So your two schools, what happens is you get all of your spells, except for it's an ultimate skill. You can see I'm missing a skill in fire if my primary is lightning, and the other way around, too. So if I go make my primary fire, I got that skill I was missing, and now I won't get the primary for lightning. So you're missing your ultimate, and there is a class system. It's not classless, it's levelless. Levelless? It's a skill-based system. And the way you unlock skills is actually kind of interesting. We'll get in the game and check it out. Alright, and here we are in the tutorial. This is very basic gameplay here. This is the intro zone. It is just showing how the combat works. You can see you have left and right click bound. You can assign different keys through there. There's also, you can assign it so they're on these like radial wheel, and you can just pull up quick buttons, and you can hit 1 through 8 to pick which spell you're using. So in this case, I have my weapon attack on the left click and my special attack on right click. Ooh, oh, I'm being eaten. When you're in combat mode like this with your weapon pulled, you are in first person. When you hit R to sheathe it, you go out of first person. Also, monsters, you don't loot the monsters, you loot the graves. Come up to them, hit F, and then there you go. I'm not sure if these are actually worth anything, but hey, I gotta grab it. Looks like I'm being hit again. There are respawns. Also, for the most part, at least outside the main city, which we'll look at eventually, I would say they're pretty sparse. There's not too many enemies around. You actually have to go wander pretty far to find any fights. But they do respawn, and you do have to keep aware of that. And also, fights, you can die pretty quickly, so another thing to keep in mind. I remember walking around the original Darkfall the day it came out, and I got lost and couldn't find a fight, and all of a sudden I found something, and it killed me. Yeah, that was not good. You can see right now I'm just using my... I also have a basic attack here. I'm not specialized in anything yet. If you hit K, you bring up your list of achievements you can unlock as you're going. As you get achievements, they give you prowess. Prowess is used to buy skills. So let's say I want to level up my fireball. I need to go and do some achievements, maybe go do some fighting or something, and I'll get prowess points as I complete certain objectives on the little menu for K. Generally, the harder the item you're completing, the more points you'll get for it. Just going to keep on looting. So for example, I have one right now I'm working on. It's craft wood. So I have just blocks of wood that I grabbed from a tree, and I can make wooden planks with it. Kind of gotta find the right spot here. Again, you hit F to interact with items usually. There's a lot of hotkeys in here. You can hit escape and it brings up a menu that shows all the different options, and you can just figure out what you want to do from there. I have not memorized all the keys yet. You can see you also start off with a basic set of tools. You have everything you can use there. These are not bound to you though. You have a handful of items that are bound to you. Basic weapons if you die, not the tools. If you die and you don't have backup somewhere, you lost everything. So you can see I can click there, I got wood, drag the wood over there, and I can craft it. It sees it takes 1 gold and 1 or 2 wood, and it makes a piece, which will give me an achievement, which will give me prowess. I can use that prowess to, maybe I want to continue leveling up woodworking and gathering. Maybe I want to be more combat oriented. There's the freedom to do whatever you want. You probably, if you wanted to, could just be all about gathering early on, just sit in the main city, gather, craft, all that. There will come a point where you're probably going to have to move on and go do something else. You're not going to obviously throw the top tier of gathering materials in this first city. I mean, they're going to want to take some risks. You're safe in the city, but you got to leave to get the cool stuff. I'd almost say the graphics actually kind of remind me. It gives me a little bit of a Skyrim vibe to it. Maybe it's just the town I'm in too. You can look around and see that. So I can hit K and bring up a list of all kinds of things I can work on. There are some that are gathering-oriented, crafting-oriented, combat-oriented, PvP-oriented. Anything you can think of. Basically, the freedom to play the game how you want. It reminds me a lot of Ultima Online, just more modern, obviously. And you can see I've got some prowess points, so I'm going to put it in my fireball. My fireball is going to be better that way. Just going to max it out. You probably, I don't know if this is effective or not. I don't know if I should distribute between my spells. But I don't care. I want my fireball. And let's go look at my spell now that I've got it. The first thing I'm going to need to do is put it on my quick bar. So I'm going to go find all my skills. You can hit U to bring this window up, and then you bring up your wheels. And you can see I'll just throw it. I can throw it there. I'm not quite sure how to control that. I actually put it on my other one, and I can just bind it to my 2 or my 8 or whatever key, and then I can pull it up real quick. Now that I got it on my bar, I can go out of town and find an enemy. You can see you are in first-person mode. There is a bit of a cast time, and you do have to hit. It does have a slight explosion, and it also looks like it's alternating between that and a cold spell, too. And there you go. Well, the guys are outside of town. I think it's, at this point, level 39 or 40 fireball seems to one-shot them. How about a little bit more of an advanced fight? Alright, this is about after wandering around the zone for 10 minutes, I found a structure. It's got some hobgoblins on it. So I'm going to go and just... Oh, look out! Ooh, I'm being hit pretty good now. There we go, I got him. Now, probably sitting back might have been a good idea. You do regen health slowly. Also, it does use WASD movement. Another thing, you can hit sprint by holding down shift, and you can hold as long as you want, but you do slowly lose hit points when you're sprinting, so you have to kind of give yourself some time to regenerate. For whatever reason, it seems to be wanting to do this lightning spell instead of my fireball, and oh, I was killed by a hobgoblin. So death in this game is not permanent, but it is not good. First thing you're going to do is you're going to just sit here for a while. There is a hotkey you can press to auto-release. I didn't realize it until afterwards. The next thing you're going to notice is the fact that load times in this game can be kind of long. I'm not running on a top-end computer here, but generally it's above most requirements for games, and the load time, pretty substantial. One nice thing is I would say is a pretty interesting soundtrack. It's the first thing I remember about the original Darkfall was the main screen had really kind of just epic sounding music. I think I was playing like at 2 in the morning was when I finally got in the first time, and it was just kind of rocking out to the music. But eventually we'll get in game, we'll realize, okay, I'm back, and I have my starting weapons left. That's it. Lost everything else. Lost all my tools. I need to get some new ones before I can go out and gather again. Speaking of gathering, I just realized I haven't shown that off yet. So the first thing you'll notice is gathering, like crafting and like combat, does have the prowess. So it's one shared pool for everything. So pretty much a true skill system, only instead of earning skill points by doing something like in UO. Just you can complete an achievement, which gives you prowess, and you can spend it however you want. And right now I'm just gonna level up this a little bit so I can actually gather. And pretty much just about anything you can walk by is gatherable. There's trees all over the place. There's rocks all over the place. You can just start mining. There's herbs hanging all over the place. You can just wander everywhere, and just about anything you can see, you can gather. So you have to walk up to it. So walk up to like this. You'll see this little button here, and then you can interact, unsheath your weapon. In this case, an axe, or should I say, a tool. And then you click. A bit of a time on it, so it's a little slow paced. This is not going to be an action heavy game right now, and the animation is pretty repetitive, so if that's going to be annoying you, then something to keep in mind. And for the most part, your items do have durability. They will wear out, and you can sit here and just go until resources are off. It'll tell you it's full of wood or whatever, and if it's not, then you just move on, go somewhere else. You sit here and gather. They're not a guaranteed chance to do it. It looks like at low levels it's kind of hit or miss. So if I gain some prowess in this case woodworking or chopping, it would help a little bit out. I actually have 0 prowess in it right now. As you can see right now, my paper doll, you do have all those different armor slots right now. All I have is the axe. I have no other armor. That's just clothes. But here we go. It's first look, probably pulled from over the course of 4-ish hours of gameplay. It is a rather in-depth game. It is not going to be quite as action-packed as some MMOs. The combat is going to be first-person oriented, so it's going to be a little more action-oriented combat when you want to have it, but it's going to be more like UO, EVE. It can be very economic, very crafting, gathering, sandboxy, and also player-driven. There's a lot of player-driven trade you can see in chat, too. The game's called Darkfall Unholy Wars. It is basically the sequel to Darkfall, which is from Aventurine, a company over in Europe. It's available in North America and Europe. It came out on the 16th of April after months of delays. If you like the game, check it out. It's available for $40 on Aventurine's website. Got a $15 a month sub. You get the first month free. Like the content, stay tuned to more MMO play. Thanks for watching. And I'm just hitting runes with my staff.